be working with the children. I'm not sure who should be cooking. I'm not sure what time. I'm not sure if we should affiliate with Rabbi Moshe. I'm not sure if we should ask the people to tithe and shove a basket under their nose, because we're only 3 people in a living room and they might get offended. Let me again reiterate. If you're worried about people getting offended, you are in the wrong business. You are not called. You have a fragile ego that needs to be healed somewhere else. The ministry, especially congregational leadership, especially, is not a place to get self-esteem, because they will destroy your esteem, and they will destroy, the enemy will come against you from friends. I'll never forget an old pastor friend of mine. And he said to me, I said, Steve, I said, look, I'm about to go into open my first congregation. If you had to give me one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice be? And he said, you want to know the truth? I said, yes, please. He said, I want to know the truth. He said, the truth is, be ready to be betrayed. Are you ready? I said, yeah, sure. I mean, you know, when I was a child, we played baseball and they didn't choose me, so I was betrayed by my friends. He said, no, not that kind of betrayal. I'm talking about all the time. From people that are your closest associates. The betrayal never ends. This year it's one person, next month it's another person. There are Yehudas, Ishkariots, every month, every week, every year in your ministry. Are you ready to be betrayed? And I said, sure. I didn't know what I was saying, of course. But boy, has that come true. It's only people that are close to you that can hurt you and betray you. So that the ministry is not a place to try to find gratification and to find yourself. You better know who you are before, and believe me, other people's opinions, you must guard yourself against those. So it is imperative for us to learn how to thrive in uncertainty. It doesn't go away. Your capacity as a leader will ultimately be determined by how well you deal with fear and uncertainty. That's how far you're going to get as a leader. How you deal with fear and uncertainty. How do you deal with fear? You put it on your back and you forge ahead. You will never stop having fear. Same with uncertainty. It doesn't go away. Do you understand? What will make you a great leader is to go into uncertainty and conquer the uncertainty with clarity. Clarity produces influence. Clarity conquers uncertainty. All right? I'm not sure if I'm supposed to start a ministry. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be a group leader. Be clear. Friday, 9 o'clock, we're meeting. You bring the coffee. You bring the bagels. You bring the challah. You do the worship, delegate. All those weaknesses in your life, delegate. And clarity. You're not sure how it's going to turn out. You're not sure if people are going to show up. But clarity produces influence, and clarity overcomes uncertainty. You know how this congregation, by Yahweh's Chesed, was built? By clarity. We determined to build a congregation in Miami Beach. Period. Write your plans in pencil, but write your vision in ink. Because your plans are going to change. Your vision should never change. You could add to your vision. You could expand your vision. But your vision should never change. Make sense? Make sense. Tough. Strap that fear and uncertainty on your back. It's never going to go away. So just carry it as a good treasured friend. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. And the ironic thing is, and then I'll take a few questions. The ironic thing is, with success, you would think people that are successful in ministry have less uncertainty. No. The more successful you are in ministry, the bigger the congregation, the more stable the congregation, the more uncertainty comes. Because now you're uncertain how to minister to 5,000 instead of 5. How to feed and take care of the children of 5,000 instead of 10. So don't think that I'm going to come to a successful point in ministry and then uncertainty is going to go away. Uncertainty will become greater. fear will become greater. The necessity to take risks will become greater. You follow what I'm saying? So you've got to have that vision, and you've got to have those characteristics we spoke of earlier. And again, I emphasize, do not be a well-rounded person. Remember we spoke about that? Find your strengths and strengthen your strengths and delegate your weaknesses. I cannot emphasize that enough. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I'm not good electronically with electronic things. I've got to find someone to delegate that to. It's giving me a kadosh look. Allow others to question your implementation, but not your direction. Okay? Not your direction. Leadership is taking people on a journey. That's all it is. I'm going this way for Yahweh. Yahweh has called me to go this way. Do you want to come with me? You're taking them on a journey. Moshe took them on a journey. Yehoshua took them on a journey to Golgotha. It's not ruling them. It's not lording over them. This is the journey. Are you with me? Take them on a journey to that vision that Yahweh has given you. And again, as I mentioned many times earlier, the problem with that is the journey is a place where we often haven't been ourselves. We're asking people to follow us. So that's where you need that moral clarity. And with authority, the only way to establish authority is with moral clarity. Remember we talked about that before? Establish your authority not through bossing around only, although there's a place for that, but through moral authority, character. People will follow a leader who has character and moral authority, even though they're flawed. And that's you and that's me. We're all flawed. But if they know you have moral integrity, you're the same way in a hotel room when your wife and your children aren't there as you are in the Moed Hall. Ah, that's a leader. Okay? And we all have to work on that. We have to cultivate that authority. Tension, let's talk a little bit about tension here. Let me read you a couple things. Tension is another thing like fear and what was that we spoke about before? Uncertainty, thank you, that every good leader lives with. Negotiating to uncertain terrain while casting a clear and compelling vision. There is always uncertainty, but uncertainty underscores the need for you to bring clarity. So instead of seeing tension as a bad thing, because you're in your congregation, people are fighting. People don't like each other. They're not getting along. So instead of seeing tension and stress as a bad thing, a leader sees that tension as an opportunity for clarity. Make sense? These two are fighting. They're acting in the flesh. They're not behaving like Yeshua. This is an opportunity for me to be clear about what I expect and what the congregation expects. Okay? So stress and tension is another thing you're going to carry with you all the days of your ministry. You're always going to carry that. You cannot escape the stress. So turn the stress, invade the stress. Stress is crying out for your leadership. In other words, the way to end stress is how? Clarity. You stop fighting, or you will be asked to leave. You will stop complaining about the congregation, or you will be put outside the camp as the Torah commands. You will be disciplined. There are consequences for your actions. There are consequences for your behavior. You've been told not to marry an unbeliever, and you still went ahead and married an unbeliever. There will be consequences from this congregation. So that stress sometimes causes leaders to make decisions that need to be made. Stress can be a very good friend. Learn to see stress as an opportunity for changing the plans and changing the status quo to accomplish your vision. Make sense? Stress and uncertainty and fear makes great leaders. They put it on because those situations call for leadership. Learn to see those things as your training ground and your friend and not your enemy. And there's a lot of other things to cover. I think I mentioned this, I'll mention it again. Just quickly, clarity is perceived as leadership. Even though you don't know what the heck you're doing, even though you've never been a Nazarene Israelite rabbi before, it doesn't matter. Be clear. People will think that with the fact that you're clear, you must know what you're doing. You understand? They will assume that you know what you're doing. if you're clear. As I mentioned earlier, as you gain clarity, you gain what? Influence. Exactly. I cannot emphasize this enough here. I really want to emphasize this very strongly. Leaders, if you're going to be a good, strong leader in B'nai Yeshua synagogues worldwide, or any organization for that matter, to be a good leader, you must be a good learner. To be a good leader, you should be the #1 worshiper in your congregation. You shouldn't sit there with your eyes moving around, wondering, seeing, is he doing it? No, no, no. You should be on the front row with your eyes closed, worshiping. You should be on the, when you have a guest speaker, you should be on the front seat, taking notes. Honoring the pulpit, because you have a guest speaker in that pulpit. Honoring the pulpit, taking notes, which you in turn can go home and study and then pass these things on to your people. To be a good leader, you must be a good student. In order for me to be what Yahweh wants me to be in my ministry, I have to be a good disciple, a good student of Yeshua, and others. And you have to be humble to learn from others. And it's good to be humble. So in order for me to change my theology about the beast, and I'm not going to change it back because I know it's 100, it fits perfectly, it fits like a glove, I had to learn from an ex-Muslim. He had to teach me. And I had to reprint parts of the Bible. That's okay. It cost me money to learn, but that's okay. That's all part of Yahweh molding me to be more humble and more teachable. So to be a leader, you have to be a learner, a student first. Very, very important. You're only going to take your people as far as you yourself can go. Okay? And it's not about doctrine. It's not about speaking Greek and Hebrew and finding the lost books of the Bible. It's none of that stuff. It is clarity. I don't care if you think I'm right. I don't care if you think I'm wrong. I love you. This is the way we do things. Very simple. Clarity overcomes fear, overcomes confusion, overcomes uncertainty. If you take one thing home from this conference, it should be, I'm going to be clearer than ever. Hallelujah. If I have to repeat myself 1,000,000 times until every person in that place understands, I'm going to be clear. The most frustrating thing in leadership is when someone comes to you and says, what do you mean? You just spend an hour and a half working with them trying to explain to them what you mean. They don't understand what you mean. That paralyzes leadership. Because remember, leaders fear lack of progress. Leaders do, if you're a true leader, you don't fear risk and you don't fear failure. You fear lack of progress. If we cannot move and grow and move forward, we become paralyzed as leaders. Because by nature, we are creative people. We discussed earlier, we mentioned it, you can lead without character, but character is what makes you a leader worth following. Character will determine what people associate with your name. Character is the will to do what's right even when it's hard. Okay. Your gifts, and then we'll take a few questions. Your gifts will open doors. Write this down, please. Your gifts will open doors. But your character will determine what happens when the doors are open. Let me help you out a little bit. If you have a gift of teaching, or if you're a scholar, your gift will open doors and get things started. But it is your character will determine what happens in the long run. Make sense? Work on your character. No stealing, no cheating, no cutting corners, none of that. Okay? Whatever is not pleasing to Yahweh, give to Yahweh. Once Yahweh opens a door for you to be a leader, your character will decide how far. Not being right Not being perfect, it all comes down to your character and to your clarity. Clarity of character and clarity of vision. A lot of people can say a lot of things about you and talk about you, but they can never catch you with a picture of drugs in your hands because you don't do drugs. They can never catch you with another woman or another man because you don't do that. See? They can never catch you, and they can never catch me. They're never going to catch me. You know why? I have nothing to catch. The real McCohen, what you see is what you get. I go out of my way. You must go out of your way to protect your moral integrity, which is your influence. If you lose your moral integrity, you don't have any influence over other people. And leadership is not the ability to control people, it's the ability to influence when necessary. And do your work through them. Do less, not more. Remember we discussed that? Do less, not more. Admit when you're wrong. Try to find things to admit you're wrong about. Remember we discussed that? Even when you're not wrong, try to look for things that you could apologize for. It keeps you humble and keeps people respecting you. There have been a lot of times that I felt I was still right, but I felt that it's been a month since I apologized for something, so I'm due for an apology. People respect that. And I believe those are the keys of how to grow and stabilize your B'nai Yeshua synagogue. Remember, success without a successor is not a success. Remember? When should you start looking for others through whom you can do the work of the ministry and to delegate? As soon as they walk into your congregation. That's a leader. That's a teacher. That's someone who I can trust. That's someone to whom I can delegate authority. As soon as they walk in the door, my rabbinic nose is looking for leaders that can be tested, not just shoved into action, but leaders that I think have potential that could be tested. When you try to do things that you're not talented and become a well-rounded leader, you're holding people back who could be doing these things, and they'll never get the chance because you're doing everything. Questions?